Alrighty, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to run Spyro the Dragon, Enter the Dragonfly, on the PS2 emulator on the Steamdeck at 60 FPS at 1080p. The Steam Deck's not like a super powerful unit. It can handle emulation pretty well, but Spyro Enter the Dragonfly has always been one of those games that has like really, really rough performance. The FPS will pretty much just go all over the place. It's always kind of weird finding some good settings for that game. So today I'm gonna basically kind of go over some settings that I have tried that have been able to run it consistently and steady at a solid frame rate and at 1080p. So I have a shortcut set to the escape key built into the emulator. So if you open up that menu, you'll get something like this. PCX S2 has a really good UI that they've been working on, which is pretty cool. So in the settings here, the biggest thing that made the biggest difference is the EE cycle rate. Setting this to 180% basically overclocks the emulated Emotion Engine CPU, which that is the original PS2 CPU. If you're running it at 100% speed, Enter the Dragonfly basically just wasn't optimized that well for the CPU, so it just struggles really, really bad. So changing this to 180% has pretty much eliminated a majority of the slowdowns that I've experienced. Sometimes the Infinity Control mode helps, but I noticed that it's kind of pretty inconsistent. This is helpful on the Steam Deck. I know certain CPUs and certain AMD and Intel things, it's kind of like hit or miss whether or not this helps or not, but on the Steam Deck, it definitely does. Pretty much this was left on, I think, from the default. This one's pretty okay. Optimal frame pacing is very helpful. And then that's pretty much it for this section. Now, if we go over to the next section, into the graphic settings, de-interlacing, you want to have it on automatic. Screenshot doesn't really matter. Crop doesn't really matter. Bilinear upscaling, just having it on bilinear smooth is okay. Haven't played around with other stuff too much. Internal resolution. If this was a better computer or a better higher-ended unit, then you could probably bump this up a little bit. But for the Steam Deck, its own display is only like 800p, so the 1080p works just fine. Mip mapping you want on basic. Bilinear filtering you want on PS2. Trilinear filtering you want on automatic. Anti-soptic filtering you want on 16. I noticed that it doesn't have a super huge performance impact whether it's on or it's off. In 16, it does help the game look a little bit better when rendering it at HD. Dithering you want unscaled, and blending accuracy you want on basic. Texture preloading you want on full, and that's pretty much it. You can have XAA on if you want it. Doesn't really make a massive difference. It's just basically smooths out some edges. For me personally, I like it to look a little bit more crisp. Other than that, a lot of these other things I just kind of left alone. You don't really have to mess with these things. Not a lot of those you really gotta mess with. So I'll show you guys here kind of how it runs with these settings. So normally in this hub area, when you're running around back and forth, there's usually like a lot of FPS dips. There's definitely an FPS dip when you walk around right around here, but you don't really get that with these settings, which has been fantastic. You can kind of just pretty much run around for the most part. You'll catch like occasional frame hiccups still here and there, but compared to what this game normally plays like, this is pretty solid. Normally the farm level has some pretty not great frame rates, so we'll go test that area out here.
Spyro, boy, am I glad you came back. The cows got loose again, and that's it.
So yeah, basically you guys can see that the game's running like way better. It's 1080p, 60 FPS, and with the Steam Deck nonetheless. I have it currently hooked up to my TV through a little dock in an HDMI, and it's running at 1080p, 60 FPS, that sort of thing, just to show you guys. Good old-fashioned 1080p, nothing too crazy. It is the Steam Deck. If you got a lot better of a system, these settings should help. Overclocking the PS2 CPU seems to be the biggest improvement. If you're using the Steam Deck, it's gonna make kind of little to no difference on the battery life. My battery life running the PS2 emulator has been pretty much more or less the same with these settings. And maybe there's a couple of minutes shaved off here and there, but no massive hit to battery life The Steam Deck seems to handle the PS2 emulator pretty well. So this is one of my favorite games, and it's always kind of a pain in the butt trying to play it because it runs like dog water, for lack of a better term. But with these settings, if you like this game and you got a Steam Deck, these settings will definitely help you. So hope this video has helped. Other than that, let me know if you guys want any other videos on anything else on the Steam Deck.